Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, you beautiful people? It is Friday. It's 2:45 a.m. I am on my way to my favorite destination or morning destination spot, which is the gym. And I got to tell you something. I'm extremely thankful for the days that I don't feel good and I don't feel like going to the gym. And I'll tell you why. Because it makes the days when I feel really good all the more that special. You know, when you get sick and you're just like, oh man, you praying to everybody, you taking every medication that they got on the shelf, you done went through everything inside of your you done went through everything inside of your cabinets, and you are literally looking for a solution to get rid of that feeling. Well, imagine getting over that feeling, being in a state of healthiness, but reflecting back to when you didn't feel good. Now remember, you feel good, but you're reflecting back to when you didn't feel good. And just imagine the kind of power that that gives you. See, I think we fail to realize something. There's a lot of healing in reflection. When you reflect back when things were worse, when I reflect back to sitting in a prison cell, then I automatically come to this point and I'm driving through the security gates of my home. When I think back about a time when I remember Silas for a couple days was really sick and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with him, and he just is such an energetic individual, such an energetic little boy, that when you see him down, you know it's real. Or when my daughter didn't know how to talk, she didn't know how to communicate, and she was sick and she was constantly running a fever and we couldn't figure out what it was. And all I was wanting is for her to be, when I reflect back and now that I see them happy, and sometimes when we're in the car together and the kids are in the back and they're yelling, I have to kind of just say, I much rather hear them yelling than to be sitting in a hospital or a urgent care trying to figure out what's wrong with them. The power of reflection. It's a tool that is given to everybody. And you get these different little seasons, these different little moments in your life where you were really able to experience what bad was and then come out of that. See, your bad never lasts longer than your good. It just always feels like it is. But then you get the power of reflection. That's why they say meditation is good, because it gives you a chance to sit back and really visualize what's going on, to slow the world down. To slow things down frame by frame. You know, you go to your phone or you go into your camera, and if you set your frames per second up and you go up to 240 frames per second, it creates a slow motion. Well, that's what happens when you meditate. You take your brain down to 240 frames per second and you're just slowly recapping what happened, and then you're bringing it to a point where you've resolved or you've overcome that issue, and now you're able to say, wow, thank you for bringing me through that, because at the time it seemed like I was never going to get through it. I bet there's a lot of people who feel like that. And the problem with these people is that they feel like that, but they never harness the polarity of that. They never harness what that feeling was, and the fact that they've come out of it. Some way, somehow, they've come out of it. They've overcome it. They did not succumb to it. And it's almost like they're waiting for the next problem to arise so that they can come out of it. Like you see somebody who's sick all the time. It's almost like they're happy with being sick. If they're not sick, they're not happy. Because when the sickness comes on, they feed it. They give it a name. They fall underneath its rapture. Ooh, I'm sick. Let's go lay down. Instead of speaking a different type of life into it, they start treating it like it's a relative. But when you get the opportunity, see, I was having a talk with my wife yesterday, and I said, the thing that keeps me standing upright and really focus and press forward is the fact that there's one thing in this world that will stop me dead in my tracks from what I'm doing. And now that I've even vocalized that, I know that that's something the devil will be after. So now even that won't stop me. But it was my kids. I can hear that they're sick, and usually when I hear if there's something wrong, I ask a couple questions because I know how people can over-exaggerate. And I ain't no doctor, and I don't think you're a doctor, so I'm going to go ahead and use my daddy meter and start, kind of figuring out what's what. But when I hear that they got a temperature, that they're vomiting, that they can't move, if I hear that my kid can't move, is not moving around, if my kid's jumping around with a slight temperature, not above, concern, they probably just got a bug. But if my kid is down and my kid ain't moving, oh, that's a problem because my kids are active. See, I know the difference. That's the only thing that can stop me in my tracks. All business must conclude. All meetings are temporarily canceled. I was going left. I am now going right to go to wherever they are. So when I knew that the one thing that could stop me in my tracks, then I had a priority. I had a measuring stick of what was important in my life. So if the one thing that can stop me is doing great, is thriving every day, then why would I ever have an off day? See, because the moment that I start feeling like I am down and I am out, I have the power of reflection. I have the power to remember, to go back in time, mentally, to a point where it wasn't all good. And then I can fast forward the story and say, if I'm not right, if I'm not at that point that I was when I was feeling that at that time, what do I have to complain about? I've met more people who have came out of situations just to find themselves back in situations, and it seemed like it was a revolving door of problems with no reflection. No sense of gratitude, no sense of thankfulness, just more problems. It's like kind of like one of those people that God is probably like, dude, what? I just got you out of something. What is your issue? Go sit down somewhere. What is your issue? And then I've met people, very few, who've actually endured under some things, and you can't get a peep out of them about a problem. Not one peep. Check their Facebook timeline. You can't get one peep out of them. Because they know it could always be worse. The cancer could still be there. Your future in the fate of your life could still be hanging in the balance of some doctors who don't have an answer, poking you and prodding you and sticking you under machines and cutting things off and replacing things, all to just keep you in this dramatic storyline that it feels like a nightmare. It could be worse. You could still be in that relationship with that man who was abusive and putting his hands on you and belittling you every single day. Or you could still be without a job, crying every night, trying to figure out how you're going to make it happen. To understand something, you got a point where you can reflect at almost any interval of your life where it seems like there's something that's coming up that may make you feel like you are getting ready to lose it. There's a reflection point in your life. If you've lived at all, there is a reflection point in your life that you can go back to that will give you a varying opinion about whether or not you are at your wit's end. And it will put it in perspective and say, no, you've already seen this before. This is nothing new to you. Your power is in your perspective. Your healing is in your reflection.